Test, 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 test. Test. Mhm, mhm. Test, test. Okay. Well, it says it's on. Says it's going. Right. So, shit's been difficult lately. In fact, I can't remember a time in the last fucking decade and a half that it hasn't. And with all these endgame spoilers out there right now, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But what I really want to talk about is the state of the world and what individuals can do about it and help themselves grow in the way that I see it. Um, the ancients say that we have three eyes: two eyes to look and one eye to see. Um, and I really like the philosophies of the ancients, especially the Eastern philosophies. Seems to help make sense of a lot of things that are happening in the world today. It's like they knew it. We are in cycles just like nature. And for anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Brandon Wayne Bryant. I am a former U.S. Air Force drone operator and public speaker against the military industrial complex and seeker of truth, speaker of truth as well. Um, and it, I, I've gotten in the argument with some people about the whistleblower um, misnomer, I guess. The reason I don't think that I'm a whistleblower is because I was in the middle of the game and I got injured and I called foul timeout on my own team because we were playing unfairly. I wasn't a referee. I went to the referees. I wasn't a whistleblower because I was directly in the shit trying to fix it until they fucking injured me on purpose to shut me up. And that backfired. And I'm kind of in this neutral position where I have the inability to do anything, but I'm not really in jail or, I mean, I'm probably under scrutiny, but uh, uh, I'm probably the one single person that's not compromised by any of the political bullshit or by money or by anything other than what I did was to simply do the right thing. And I think that is an unbeatable position because we should always seek to do the. Here's the thing: a lot of people think that they're doing the right thing, but we should always seek to do the right thing and understand in ways that we did it wrong. Nothing is just there as itself. There's always multiple faceted reasons why anything can exist. Uh, and so we just have to simply do the best that we can. And even when we do the best that we can still lose. That was a lesson that I learned in growing up wrestling. 'Cause there was always wrestlers that were better than me. I had a really fantastic natural talent, but I also didn't push myself to excel then when I had every ability to. I was reading books. I was studying my Bible. I had all these things going on. So I think that's also why I learned that something that you do isn't your identity. It's just something that you do. And a lot of people think that, you know, they identify themselves as like their personality is a wrestler when it's an activity that you do. And you pick up certain traits and condition yourself to behave in certain ways, yes, but we should always be self-determined in those things. I'm gonna I'm gonna be using some terms that the VA taught me when I was in inpatient clinic, uh, but I'm also gonna compare them to uh, Eastern religious terms and biblical Christian terms, I guess, because I think I've come to understand a few things, especially with the idea of why people do what they do and do they understand exactly what they're doing. Because I realize with I've talked to people all over the world. I've been verified and confirmed by many sources, and the only thing that they can say against me is that I'm lying, but they can't come up with anything that I've lied about. But they did wreck my personal life. And one of my former associates told me that this fight is more important than me. And I find myself back in in the position where I was when I got injured in Sear to continue to go forward while injured or allow the team to continue forward without me. And it's really helped me understand my non-importance in many places in my life, my own life. I am not valued by anyone outside of my immediate family. I feel that while I was on the media circuit, I was a showcase, a prop, or people tried to use me as one, and then tried to belittle the tragedies that I have experienced and excuse them away. And when they couldn't, when when I stood up for myself and what I believe that we've done and how to correct it, people started ignoring me. And I mean, I wouldn't say ignoring me. I get interview requests all the time, but when I tell people exactly what's going on and I answer their questions, I don't think people get what it is that they're asking for or trying to uncover. Because there is nothing to uncover. It's all right there in our fucking faces every day. The media lies to us. When I was going through uh, my first base improsing, they have this like junior airman class that you have to take for 6 weeks while you're while we were waiting to get into training. And I remember some of the things the guy said to us. He was a pretty wise dude, and I mean, though he was an Air Force man through and through. Uh, my dog, the drinker, everybody. Um, he said that the media will always try to get requests from us, and that don't trust them, which was kind of an ironic thing to say because I wanted to be in the media. I wanted to be a journalist and figure out what the hell was actually going on in this world. I was really curious. And I say, I'm still curious, I guess, but I was retardedly curious, um, with no caution growing up. I pretty much grew up in a bubble. I had a great childhood. It was lonely, but I had a good childhood. And I learned to be very self sufficient, which has been taken from me. Uh, but I find that he was right in a very terrifyingly moral sense, is that the media will lie to get you to say whatever because they're not necessarily after the truth. They're after uh, they are an offer after an agenda, and they want you to say something exactly how they would want you to say it. A few instances, some of the places that I went to interview, they tried to send me a list of questions that they would possibly ask me, or give me a list of questions the night before to read over, and I was like, I'm just gonna answer the truth. Like, I don't give a fuck. No one is telling me how to answer this but myself. And my goal was to bring to awareness of leaders in our country and in the world that could look at this thing and be like, holy shit, yeah, this is bad. If my grandfather was still alive and he knew what had been going on, like, I was gonna go. Interesting thing is, like, at his funeral, I was get before on his deathbed, I was gonna go and I was going to confess everything to him. And the military told me that he wasn't. Well, it wasn't the military; it was my supervisor, and his supervisor uh, told me that I couldn't go home on leave. The mission was more important because he wasn't immediate family. And even though I told them that he raised me and that he was my hero, they didn't give a fuck. Uh, because there was a lot of drama, toxic bullshit that was happening, and my supervisor was best friends with this girl I dated in the military, her boyfriend, and they made my life fucking miserable. And so I put everything, the military first. Like, I did exactly what I was raised and taught to fucking do. And it fucked me up emotionally and physically and spiritually. Destroyed everything that I could have ever believed about myself or the world. And, I think maybe one reason why I allowed the media to have its way with me, so to speak, was because I wanted to trust it. I wanted to find a greater authority figure that I could trust. Uh, because the military broke its promises to me and many others, and they obviously didn't give a fuck about, of course, what I wanted or why I wanted to serve or what I was doing. There was a ton of political bullshit. And I wanted to find people who were interested in no bullshit and telling the truth like it is so we can fucking solve this problem and move on to the next one, because there's a fuck ton of issues out there that need to be solved and we are simply just making them worse. We're making them worse through our greed and ignorance and creating manufacturing problems. I saw a slide the other day of um, I want to say pharmaceutical doctors convention, and this guy's pointing at this slide and he says, healing people is not profitable. And I have this feeling that everyone thinks that, like, these guys think that if we cure someone, nothing else is going to happen to them if we help them. No, but human beings are stupid. Of course, something's going to happen. Someone's going to break a leg or hurt their arm or and be reckless. But keeping us sick and denying us health care destroys the foundation of humanity itself and its strength and stability on this world. And I find it so appalling that we want to make it so that programs like healthcare and housing and food are a profitable business. And there are an infinitely more things that are better profitable. You know, if we can give people stable health, housing, and food, then they're more likely to go search for things like the television and playing adventures through video games and investing in quality stuff. And I do not understand why we don't make quality stuff. Because isn't reputation in a business the best way to keep customers? Because if someone else comes in, does the same thing that you do, but worse quality, isn't it a matter of pride to know that you give a better quality product and thing? Shouldn't I've been reading, of course, ancient philosophy and wisdom, and it always strikes me as strange that in our Western world we do not lift up the people that are beneath us. We do not, like, the leaders are not just a representation of their people, but the people are a representation of their leader. And whenever I have really trouble finding good leaders in this modern day and age. I've tried to find many. I found this one guy. I tried to get this mentorship from this one guy who apparently, I found out later, he made these weird um, to video self defense that I'm not sure of the legitimacy of. I've read a lot of things about this guy that said that he's not legitimate. Um, that he had this thing called like Way of the Warrior, and I was like, all right. I was looking for a coach to pick me up off my feet, help me pick me up off my feet, and push me along. And this guy, I just felt that he was just after money. Like he had read a few esoteric books and thought himself an expert on coaching and guidance. But I went through his stuff for like 3 weeks, and he kept telling me he's like, I'm trying to build off what I am and what I've been trying to do. And he's like, I want you to discard everything and just do whatever it is that I say. And I tried for 3 weeks, and this guy wasn't making any sense. And I find that is a true thing with the modern guru. Because I've always wanted to be a teacher. Growing up, I didn't want to be a fireman or a policeman or really even military or computer tech. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach people how to to search for their best selves in literature and expression in their writing. And I wanted to coach people. I wanted to coach people to be champions. Maybe not on the wrestling match, but in life. And like I grew up with that as my example, with both my grandfather and my grandpa and my mother. So maybe my approach to these whole world issues and these things that I've encountered is simply vastly different than a lot of people, I the rest of the world. Because I keep trying to get people involved. I keep trying to talk to people, but it's counterintuitive to the rest of the world, how the rest of the world is behaving. I read this story um, of this. I want to say it's in the Ramayana, but I don't know if that's the case. But it was this parable of this man making a bet with one holy man making a bet with another holy man, and saying that he will give a gold piece. He has 100 gold pieces. He will give a gold piece to anyone for free that comes up and talks to him. And he's standing on this bridge, and he bets that no one will take any of his gold coins. And as he's sitting there saying, he's like, I've got a gold coin for you for free. You can have a gold coin for free. And many people just look at this guy and just keep walking. And eventually people walk back and forth and they just ignore him. Some people come up and talk to him and ask him if he's for real. Some people even hold the coin in their hand and look at it and smell it and taste it, but they think that something's up, that there's something behind it. And this guy's like, no, you can have this coin. And no one takes it. And I find that is the way of this world, is that we have all these people who are giving us gold. We got Julian Assange, who is wrecking everyone's day on the intelligence community because he is also sick of the bullshit that happens behind the scenes that is definitely morally wrong, ethically wrong. Um, and every world government should not fear him, but fear the truth. If they're not doing what is good and right and just, you know, keeping people ignorant, if they're uh, keeping people sick, you know, we we are in a we are actually in a climate crisis, and it is because of the current world leadership that we are in this crisis, and it's displayed in front of us. The media is part of it. They're not doing their fucking jobs and just reporting the truth and not having it emotional and letting people decide. They're not. They're supposed to be leaders in that, and they're not doing it. And humanity is still dumb enough to follow and believe lies. I mean, I did it when I joined the military. uh, I did it when I started speaking out against the military-industrial complex. You know, I believed in things that were untrue. There's this quote. I don't remember where it's from, but it's like you can't trust people because they're dumb and scared, but you can trust a person because they have the ability to sit back and think about it. I guess if they're wise. And I don't think that we spend enough time just taking a step back and looking at what is in front of us. The churches are taking our money and living ridiculously pompous lifestyles for spiritual servants. We have corrupt businessmen buying out, buying pieces of the government and destroying entire communities with their polluting and their poor business practices to make every last greenback like that is fucking important and not being held accountable. We have representatives of the people that don't actually represent the people, but they represent the interests taking advantage of the people. And then we have this Citizens United bullshit that treats corporates as people, and we're not holding those corporations accountable for its actions as we would an individual. And we're creating these legal loopholes. Like, the law should be as simple as possible. It should be simple enough that an 8-year-old can read it and understand it, and it should be intuitive enough that you don't have to think about it for every little fucking thing that you're doing in life. The essence of the Tao Te Ching. And right now I'm worried. I'm worried that those of us that are out there speaking the truth are not listened to. Hell, my social media is shadow banned on every fucking level. I get 1 or 2 views of my videos, and I think that they're probably mostly just the government making sure I'm not doing anything stupid. I get weird emails from people. You know, the world is is a strange fucking place. And there's already suffering in this world. People die, people get hurt. Accidents happen. But we shouldn't spend our time making it miserable for others. We should be looking at this and being like, oh my God, what the fuck have we done? And do put every single effort into change and to making things better, because it doesn't matter if you're going to make a profit from it if the entire world is destroyed and you can't feed your family and you watch this planet wither away because we caused a climate catastrophe. In fact, every single 1%er out there, there should be a league of the 1%. And they should be like, okay, if everyone puts in 50% of everything that they own, sacrifice it to come up with technology to fix the problems that are immediately available, then we can rebuild society before it even crashes and take a look at what's worth it and what's not. We have so much data in front of us. I always liken this to the Millennial Challenge, which was a war game played in 2000 in which the United States lost because they were doing modern intelligence gathering or Cold War intelligence gathering uh, against their perceived enemy. And this guy was very knowledgeable in warfare and tactics and destroyed 90% of the US Navy naval power in one fell swoop, and the United States paused it, rolled back the clock, and then destroyed everything and claimed victory. And this isn't a game. This is no longer a game. Like, this is legitimately horrible place that we are at. And it's the media's fault. It's the politicians' fault. It's the corporations' fault. But most importantly, it's the people's fault. And even more importantly than that, it's each individual's fault for just letting this shit slide. And I used to have trouble believing in the evil of people. If such a thing existed, I didn't really encounter it growing up. I mean, the evilest thing that happened in my life was I was bullied by some kids who I stuck up for myself and never got bullied again, and my father leaving me before I was even born. And everything else was just theory or conceptual or story or history. And in the last 15 years, I think I've balanced that out with my encounters with the evil that exists in this world. And it's born out of pure ignorance. Because I'm pretty sure that if an individual understood that we're all living in this modern era and we all deserve to live and we all have a part to play in this universal ecology, then I'm pretty sure that most people wouldn't do the evil shit that they do to anything else. But we don't have individuals that stop and think. We don't have. I read this post about an autistic kid the other day. Because I seriously think I've been doing a lot of studying on um, mental behaviors like personality disorder, narcissism, psychopathy, because I've run into a lot of those types of people. Um, but I've also interacted with my mom's a special ed teacher, so I've also interacted with autistic kids. So when I have the chance to read a personal account of someone, one of these kids being able to explain a situation, it's like shedding light when I recognize the pattern that he's describing in another area that I've interacted with. And he was talking about how one of Kurt Vonnegut's books was written in satire. It's the one that's very religious. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he got halfway through this book and he hated it. He thought that it was um, horrid. He thought that it was what the author was presenting to him as true instead of satire. And then his teacher explained to him what actually was going on, what the author really was trying to get across. He went back, reread it, and enjoyed it. And I find that that's not just a thing that happens with autism. It might be more obvious with people with autism, like not understanding sarcasm or lying or because I feel like they're attention driven individuals. They're really, really good at it's like if you create a character and you dump your worst stats and put them all into the ones that you want to use. uh, but I think this phenomenon of not understanding what they're reading or seeing, or not having something reasonable to compare it to, might be a actual Western phenomenon. Um, we claim to be a Christian country, yet we do not have people living this modern life in leadership positions that are very Christian like. In fact, I have trouble looking at the history of our leadership in this country as there's literally almost nothing Christian about what people have done and uh, what they claim to believe. And we have individuals that want to be told that everything is going to God's plan while the world crumbles around them because they feel powerless. Um, they feel powerless about their life situation or about what the world is about, um, which is another thing I want to talk about, self-determinism. I just read about this 2 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it a lot ever since. Many people aren't self-determined. They're, I, I mean, it was right in front of my face the entire fucking time. I've been thinking like, what am I missing? What is, what am I missing with when interacting with people? And it's self-determinism. It's determining who and what you are and not letting anyone's opinion or belief sway you on the matter. Um, and that's definitely, it might be the trait that I have that got me in most trouble in the military. Um, even though I did my job very well, I was still self determined about it. It's like I was put in a box and I could only move and do this much, but everything that I did wasn't simply because I was told to do it. And I did a lot of things that I was told to do, but I also argued while I did it. And I never fell into that follow the group mentality. I like to be included in things, but I'm not part. I don't think I've ever felt part of a group. And I think a lot of people that are going through depression nowadays feel this loneliness because they want to be a part of something, have something in their life, but they don't know how to get it without conforming to someone else's reality and expectations, or perception and expectations. Perception is not reality. It's like perception is reality is a phrase that is commonly told to me in the military, and that is simply not the case. Someone could perceive that they're not damaging the environment, but we can obviously see that as our planet dies in front of our eyes, that whatever it is that you perceive or believe isn't true. It's what is actually happening. That is what is true. And you might not see everything, but you should be able to recognize the fact that shit is bad at the moment. And unfortunately, this is how I see it. I see what's going to take place in the next few years is war in our own backyard. We've already got it happening. We got people shooting up mosques and synagogues and schools. We got the police brutalizing people, keeping people in fear. I mean, I'm gonna take a guess that in 100 years, when history can look back at what's happened between Nazi Germany and modern day today America, they're going to find that modern day America is infinitely more worse than Nazi Germany ever was. Um, and it's so obvious right now in the way that people are treating each other and behaving, and the fact that our political leadership is literally sitting on their asses doing nothing. They're sacrificing young men's lives. If we want to say something horrid is happening, we've we've essentially lost our best people in World War One, Two, and Three, our strongest individuals. Or World War Three. We're in World War Three, Vietnam, and today we've got many potentially quality beings being destroyed by the military industrial complex, while cowards and tell us where to fight. You know, Donald Trump does not deserve any fucking military honors. He avoided his service. I mean, state of our world is bad. And I don't know how else to tell people. I mean, my health is failing. My health has been failing for a long time. And I've tried to keep myself going with with minor things. Project Red Hand was a project for me to do without sitting there thinking that I was going to kill myself, because I had wrecked my body and my heart, mind, and soul for the military industrial complex, and they punished me for trying to do the right thing. And then I did the documentary, and I actually thought that I was getting across to people, but I find that it was just a waste of everything. And that Norway, probably under order of the United States, interfered with my personal life, got me to believe and fall in love with someone, and then proceeded to inflict narcissistic abuse upon me and break me. And then when I ran away, she got pregnant with my son on purpose and knew that I would never, ever allow a child of mine to grow up without a father. And that put a lot of that heartbreak, what she did to me, I don't even know how people can do that to one another. It was the most evil thing I've ever encountered in my entire life. And I've encountered a lot of evil. And the response that I have gotten from the governments that I've gotten to as allies of mine to hold us accountable, because if we're not going to hold ourselves fucking accountable, then someone else has to hold us accountable. And if it's our friend, then if we are to survive, our friends need to hold us accountable. But I don't actually believe anyone's our friend. I don't really see much goodness in this world. And it breaks my heart. It's led me to drown in a sea of sorrow. And I don't know how to pick myself up out of it. I don't even know what to do. Just stand and watch as idiots tear this fucking world apart and destroy my country for the sake of pride and ignorance. Because the only other step is to violently remove them. That's the next step. And I do not think that anyone but the bad guys is ready for it. I've talked to people. They don't think this is going away. They don't think that the enemy isn't trying to isolate them and is ready for when they eventually feel so trapped that they fight back. And they don't realize that there are many human beings that would betray their own family for $1. That's how I see the world today. It breaks my heart. But what to do about it? This is where we need to create self-determined people. This is where we need to try to expand our awareness and power from ourselves into our environment. And I had this thought earlier. So the military teaches us OPSEC, and one of the OPSEC things is to vary your schedule and to report suspicious behavior and pattern behavior. But one of the things that I don't think that the military either gets is that you want to be so good at what you do that someone could literally sit there and watch you do it and they can't stop you from doing it. Or, I mean, I don't even know if that makes sense in my head, but I've tried to explain this to people where it's like my grandfather, my grandpa, he's 70, he will be 78, I think. Um, but even when he turned 70, he was still a wrestling coach, and he would get challenged by kids. And he'd be like, all right, I'm going to do a fireman's carry, or I'm going to do a Granby roll, or something. And he would say it, and the kids would be like, all right, I'm going to try to stop you. Couldn't stop him nearly every single time. And I always figured that came from age and wisdom, but it's also really just practice. It's understanding, like, he knows who he is. He understood this is what he was going to do. It was, and even if he threw a fireman's carry and he was stopped, he knew he could go to a double leg or a single leg and finish. And he was just an unstoppable force. A very slow moving, persistent, unstoppable force. And I feel like the Western world has kind of forgotten that everything's so fast speed, everything's so high tech. I mean, people are watching Avengers Endgame and posting as the movie's going on and as the theater credits are finishing and all sorts of shit like that. And it's like people are impatient. They can't slow down. Because another thing in that I was taught growing up is that if you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. And so many people want it's this instant gratification thing that has led us to destruction, honestly. Um, and that's why we need to take a step back. That's why you need to separate yourself and see what it is that you can do and do it for yourself, not selfishly, but for yourself, for your own betterment and growth and discipline. That's I feel like that's the only way you can be self-determined. But you also have to be curious. You can't give in to fear. Fear is the mind killer. It is the small death that brings total obliteration. And everyone should face their fear. They should turn their inner eye and see where it has gone. Then you will realize that only you remain. All this world is changing. It's in a constant change, a state of change. We see that through the seasons. We see that cause and effect isn't just a dharma law or a spiritual law. It's an actual physical law that affects everything. Everything. Like a pebble in a pond. Drop a pebble in a pond and it sends ripples out through the whole pond. It affects everything. Really don't know what else to say, honestly. I don't know if there's anything else I can say. I want everyone to know that we still have time to get our shit together. And everyone should be showing up with the idea of how to help, not how to fight. Have a happy spring. See you whenever.